Welcome back to Fast Market on the TD Ameritrade Network. I'm Tom White, joined by my co-host Kevin Hinks. But let's bring in our next guest for a cash tag segment, and that's going to be Landon Swan, the co-founder of LikeFolio. Thanks for being here, Landon.
Hey guys, thanks a lot. Good to be here.
Good. I hope you recovered from the Kentucky Derby this past weekend. Although you don't even live there anymore. Did you actually go up to the Derby?
So I did not go. I had tickets, I had plans to go, and then my son made the championship basketball game. I'm the coach that same day. Apparently down in Florida, they don't know that you don't schedule things on Derby Day. So we had to go win a championship instead of going to Derby.
Fair play, fair play. I like that. Good excuse there. It's worth it. All right, so we're talking Coinbase. Shares are down about 70% this year. Really highly correlated to Bitcoin. If you overlay a chart over it over the last 6 or 8 months, it just moves lockstep with that. But we've seen a lot of estimates revised lower moving forward from a lot of analysts and market watchers here due to the fact that not only that crypto is starting to fall, but then you start getting less interest. Are you guys seeing any positive consumer sentiment data out of LikeFolio on Coinbase going into earnings?
Short answer, no, we're not. I'll give you the long answer though. When we look at all the different things that you can look at, I mean, there's a lot of ways to slice and dice Coinbase. It's not just at the company level, but even at the company level, they are falling behind peers like Square and PayPal. It's tough to have direct competitors with Coinbase because they're so dominant in their space, but you know, they're off about 40% on purchase intent on a year-over-year basis, where those other two that I mentioned are up 10 and 34%. So they're doing better there. They're off on happiness. They're lower than both of those as well. They're at 60% happiness. And just overall, the macro trends are all kind of going against Coinbase as well. If you just look at how many people are talking about doing various things in cryptocurrency, they're all off quarter over quarter. They're all up year over year, but quarter over quarter, they're all down. One of the bigger concerns, though, and this is a great chart, people talking about buying the dip. And you would think it would be really high right now because this is quite the dip, but it's not. And I think this is maybe signs of potential capitulation in just general Bitcoin prices or general cryptocurrency prices. But the volatility is there, but you know, the desire to come in and start buying is not. And so I think that's obviously a concern for Coinbase. Just if you look at it, though, this company's down, I think 80% from all-time highs, around $75 right now, and their PE ratio is now about 5, which is just nuts to me. I mean, it's becoming a value stock, and it's so weird to see this company get to this place because, you know, they had revenue increases of 144% in 2020, 500% in 2021. Their income went from 0.3 billion to 3.5 billion over 1 year period last year. So they are killing it when it comes to revenue. And I think one of the reasons is their fees are so high, you know, anywhere from 0.25% up to 0.6%, which is very high when you compare it to the stock market world. So it's interesting. It's a little bit of a strange situation going on with Coinbase, and everything that we've seen is pointing to lower usage, lower amount of people joining Coinbase, but then you start getting the prices so low. It's like, how low do you need it to be before you get like a PE ratio, you know, 5, 4, 3? When does it become an automatic buy? I think the concern is the slowing in growth. Now, you can see here the slowing in growth from that last little spike in early this year, February 2022. And it's way down when we're talking about people investing in crypto, but overall the space has blown up over the last 2 years, you know, 8x in the last 2 years, which is a huge number. But when you look at how people are getting into cryptocurrencies, decentralized finance, I think, is the big winner. Staking is also still pretty big. But then when you look at people talking about either selling or investing or trading or, you know, heaven forbid, paying with crypto, those numbers are all very down on a quarter over quarter basis. So DeFi is the only one that's up. Staking kind of hanging in there, but they had a monster year. They were almost 10x year over year. So now over the last quarter, that's pulled back. So you look at just people trading, investing, and even selling, they're all down quarter over quarter. And just the space in general is struggling. So I think that's why Coinbase has been selling off so much. But again, how low is too low? It eventually becomes a really, really good value stock. and the leader in their space. So I'm kind of in a tough spot with Coinbase. I would have been extremely bearish 2, 3, 4, 5 days ago. Now I'm like, this is starting to get pretty low. So I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts.
Landon, this is the age-old story that they're the ones, like in a gold miner, right? They're the ones selling the picks and the axes and all the tools, right? This is the infrastructure behind trading Bitcoin, and that's going to go up and down. But the thing that popped out to you, Landon, is the same thing that popped out to me, which is this company makes money and their PE is wafer thin in terms of a 5 PE. So this, but, and this is a big but, PayPal, Square, NVIDIA, Coinbase, they're all linked to the price of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, and they can't get out of the way of that future. Should they be? I don't know, I'm not sure, but certainly right now, that's what they're tied to, and you need some stabilization. Landon, here's my question to you. How do these companies who one of them may have made a mistake of changing their name to Block, how do these companies divorce themselves from the price of crypto and start to trade like the companies that they are, which is making money? How do they get away from that price?
Yeah, well, so the problem with Coinbase is their fee, the way that they make money is based on a percentage, right? So if you wanted to buy 1 Bitcoin 6 months ago versus today, it costs you half as much in fees because Bitcoin's been halved.
Oh.
So, right. So if Bitcoin hypothetically, what if it gets down to 3,000 or 4,000 like it did not that long ago when you're looking at a chart, their fees go down 90%. And so that is a huge, huge threat. And I think that's why investors are so scared, is because it is directly tied to it. And the only way that they could get off of that is to charge a constant fee, either in Bitcoin or US dollars, whatever it may be. But then if you do that and it does start to fall, then all of a sudden as a percentage, that number gets really, really big and unsustainable. So I don't think they can actually do that. I think that they've just got to try to do what they can to bolster the cryptocurrency market, just make it more secure, get more people on. I don't think that they can charge a flat fee unless it is extremely low, which investors definitely don't want to see. So, the threat of Bitcoin continuing to go lower is very scary. And all of a sudden, I mean, hypothetically, Bitcoin goes down another 50%, another 80% from here, then the PE ratio is going to go up quite a bit because their fees, then their revenues are going to drop significantly. So it's going to be lockstep with the whole overall market, cryptocurrency, but Bitcoin specifically. And I just don't see how they can get away from that. And I think it's just a fact of the matter. I'd love to hear ideas. I don't think they have any because I don't know that they can do anything.
I think about it this way, and Kevin can probably back me up on this, Landon. When I first started trading options, and I traded one through, my bank, right? A 10 lot of calls cost me about $80 to make that trade. And I was on the trading floor, so we got better rates as market makers, but that continually went down due to technology, right? Coinbase charges a lot. Those fees are going to come down. Competition will only cause that to be rapidly moving to the downside, and that's going to hurt their growth numbers moving forward. But then again, also, Landon, when you guys were seeing spikes in mentions of crypto over the last 2 years, right? And people were getting in when Bitcoin was $40, $50, $55,000, and then they lose a little bit. And remember the demographics that were getting into crypto at this time. Smaller accounts, right? They get blown out. They probably can't go back to it. Is that part of the reason that you're starting to see that sentiment data or that buy the dip mentality just kind of waste away?
Yeah, I'd hate to think of how many, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 accounts have gone to nearly zero over the last year or so. I mean, it's tough, especially you get into NFTs and all that. There's been a lot of movement to the downside. Right. So it's tough. And for those people that are just getting in, if you're talking about a 20-year-old who puts in $1,500, $1,500 is not easy to come by, and you're scarred a little bit. That stings. So maybe it's going to be a while before they can get back in. But I think that I agree. The number of people are certainly decreasing. At least the the growth is decreasing significantly. And we've seen that in all of our data. The amount of interest in investing, trading, all of that is gone down significantly. So I think a lot of people have just been blown up and blown out of the markets.
Yeah, and I'm not sure, especially with all the assets classes down at this point, how fast that does recover, if it does at all. We'll have to wait and see on that. But if you had an earnings score on Coinbase going into this report, even with that PE ratio so low, what do you guys have at LikeFolio?
This is the first time I've ever said this. Negative 99. We are very bearish. Everything looks bad on Coinbase. Now, again, that is based on the number of people talking about it, the happiness levels, the macro, everything being negative. The price of the stock itself and the PE ratio don't really come into play on that score. So maybe there's a buy the news or something like that. I just can't see them reporting hardly anything good. But they've sold off so much, I think investors kind of know that bad news is coming. So I think that's why I buried the lead a little bit on that negative 99. But I mean, it's just the worst score we've seen in quite a while. Yeah, and I think Bitcoin itself is reflective of that, pulling back pretty sharply this week and over the last several months. All right, Landon, great stuff as always. Appreciate it. All right, thanks a lot, guys. Take care. All right, that's Landon Swan, the co-founder of LikeFolio.com.